Larry Rappaletto. We want to recognize Council Member David Craig. He is in New York, and we will be seeing his face up here probably pretty quickly. And we always want to welcome Council Member Fowers and Council Member Hill. We just wanted to make a couple of announcements of some upcoming events. This Saturday at 9 o'clock at Hooper City Cemetery, we are going to be removing the wreaths off the cemetery that we put down for Wreaths Across America. They do not like us to leave them until they start to become looking not well, because it always is representing and an honor for our veterans. So any of you that can go help us this Saturday, 9 o'clock at the cemetery, we would really appreciate that. We are going to take them apart. The Hooper School would like the bows. We're going to take off the rings, the metal rings. We have some farmers, or if any of you are interested, to come and get the pine part for your goats, you're welcome to. So that will be this Saturday. Some of you might have also on our table saw this flyer about strengthening families. This is a class that the Western Weber CTC is hosting. It's a free 6-week class. And there's flyers back here on the desk. If you are interested in that, they're Mondays from 6 until 8 at Mountain View Junior High, which is the new junior high, starting January 26th. Again, it's free. They provide dinner, and then each family gets an Amazon gift card after. And so there's a flyer there on the desk, and as well as in the foyer. And then I just wanted to remind you also that we are doing our monthly online newsletters, and we really want to thank our city recorder, Morgan Yeoman, that does those for us. And so if you go to our website or to our Hooper City Facebook page, you will be able to see those monthly newsletters. Okay. So we are going to go on then. Next thing is public comments. If anyone has a public comment, if you will come up and state your name, you have 3 minutes. And realizing this is a comment, if we don't answer your questions right now, because it's a comment. And so come up and ask those, and then we will move on. And is there anyone that has a comment?
David Harris, what else am I supposed to say? It's a comment about your working meeting with the consultant for $2,500. What's the plan after they come in? So if you come in and the consultant says we're going to do this, whatever it may be, what's the plan after that?
So what he does is creates the policy. So Hooper doesn't have an economic policy. So they are the ones that would actually be writing an economic policy for Hooper to abide by. That's what it is. So he would come in and meet with city council and go through and create a policy as far as what we would be doing in the future with economics. And he'll be coming at our next work meeting at 6 o'clock, and he'll be explaining all of that. But it's a policy. And then that's something that would govern us as far as when we're working with commercial development.
I guess I still have the same question, because now you've got the policy in place. How does it get implemented, maintained, administered, et cetera?
So just one example. So for example, I serve on the sewer district board, and we had a city that came in and wanted to be part of a CRA and wanted the sewer district to be able to do that. And if you're familiar with CRAs, they have a policy in place that says we are only going to do a CRA. It's only going to be for X amount of years for, a certain percentage. Hooper City, we don't have anything like that in place at all. So if a commercial development comes in and asks us, currently we don't have anything. And so after that, it would be up to city council to administer that and make sure we follow it.
Okay.
And I already told you I wouldn't answer questions, and I talk too much. My kids tell me that. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we will move on then to consent items, which is the approval of the minutes dated December 4th, 2025. Any questions, changes? There was only one thing that I noticed, and it was under public comments when it said Steve Robinson explained that the county would like to give a tour. It was, he explained that he would like to give a tour of the facility, meaning his facility, not the county.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from December 4th, 2025 with the one correction.
Motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second was made by Councilmember Rapoletto. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next thing we have on our agenda then is we are going to have a public hearing on the request for a release of easement for Josh Bennett. And you'll see his address there, 5775 South, 5900 West. So if there is someone who will make the motion to move us into a public hearing. Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Fowers. Is there a second? Second was made by Councilmember Hancock. Okay, all in favor? Okay, so we're going to
Aye.
move into a public hearing. Forget. Is there anyone that would like to come up and have anything with the? Okay, seeing none, then we need a motion to move back to our regular meeting.
So moved.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second was made by Councilmember Fowers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So now we're going to have a city council discussion, and I believe, Malcolm, you have something you can tell us about that. Thank you.
This was provided to us by the applicant. Here's a potential site plan. You can see a shop being located here. This would be the north property line. It wants to be he wants to place it 8 feet from the north property line. Currently, there's a 10-foot utility easement here. And yeah, just right here. We can pull up a plat map and see this would be the lot in discussion right here, lot 1. So this is the easement in question, or that's been petitioned to be vacated. They have to be 10 foot off property line. I think Ken made that note. This one's 8 foot is what the end goal would be. They need to be 10 foot if there's a utility easement. Finally, I just wanted to make sure with the new council and everyone that they're aware of kind of how this worked out. You can read our ordinance here where we just require with a subdivision to have an easement around the boundary of the subdivision. It's 10 foot. And you can kind of see this was subdivided in 2016. This was an original home right here. And then they subdivided these 2 lots, so lot 2 and 3. And as part of that, we followed the ordinance there and drew a PUE around the border of the subdivision. So that's where we're at. Letters have been submitted. They followed the state process. We have ordinance in our code that we just follow the state process for a petition to vacate an easement. And part of that state requirement is that they provide letters from any interested utility companies in that easement. And those have been provided and should have been reviewed by everybody. It looks like there were no issues with them having it vacated. But that's kind of where we stand. Any questions for me? Or I believe the applicant's here as well. So if they have any questions for me or any need clarification, please feel free to ask.
I do have some counsel. According to our code, which is 106A71, subdivision requires that there is a easement that goes around the subdivision completely. But so by doing this, we would be not following, it would be a non-conforming subdivision. So I would advise not to do this. I think there's other ways that we can assist the applicant here. There's encroachment agreements that we could make with this person so that they could possibly build on this area an encroachment agreement to our easement. And just to correct, Rocky Mountain did not agree to the giving up the easement. They just agreed to a encroachment on the easement, which would be similar to what I would advise. That's something that happens with cities a lot. We don't know, I mean, development in the future, way into the future, we don't know everything that's going to happen. And if we need drainage on the outside of there or something in the future, once we lose them, they're gone. So that's my advice.
So I have a question on that encroachment. Is there a distance that you assign to that? If it's approved, if we approve the easement type encroachment, is there a distance, or do you say, okay, we'll let you encroach up to 2 feet of this utility easement, or what?
That's something that the city and the city would decide with the person that wants this done. Correct. That'd be an agreement that we would come to. We would come up with what we would want on our easement, because this is our easement. We don't have to give these up.
Well, maybe I have just one other question. Is there something already built on this easement? I mean, is that why it's being requested? Have they already built something on it or not?
It's not a question I can answer. I don't know.
Okay.
Would the applicant like to come up? Is there anything, questions you have?
Can I ask a question first, if you don't mind? So for me to understand this right, so there's a 10-foot easement around, and so his building's gonna go 2 feet over to it or past that 10-foot easement? Or,
That's for Malcolm.
Yeah, that's accurate from what he's sent us here. He wants to locate a shop 8 foot from this property line, and there's a 10-foot easement, which would require him to be at 10 feet.
okay, I didn't know if there were so many feet from the building to a property line and if that was the same on an easement. And so he was just getting closer to the easement. So he's actually
No,
going
he'll-
over
he'll-
2 feet.
Yeah, the proposal is that he would encroach or vacate or be on our easement. So he's seeking a waiver or something to do that. Or
2 feet of the property line or of the public utility easement, excuse me. My name is Josh Bennett. I think my biggest, so I absolutely understand your subdivision regulations. This is a piece of property that was sectioned off that also has another building. So Malcolm, could you pull up the plat map for me, please?
yeah, sure.
So the Brad Mortensen, the 2137 there. So that one already has, that easement has already been vacated. And he has a shop that has been built, I believe, 5 feet from the property line. So that would be 5 feet into the public utility easement. I would absolutely understand if it was a standard subdivision. But if you were to look at,
Can I ask a clarifying? Can you show me where he was saying which
Yeah,
easement was
this
vacated?
one, Brad Mortensen, are you same side as you're looking to vacate?
on the
north?
left side of this page.
So yeah,
So that'd be
the
the
top
east
here. Oh, no, the left,
Yes,
so the
yep,
east.
that
one.
is the one
He
he is-
vacated this one. Oh,
Correct, yep. So a portion of the easement has already been approved by this. Um. Anyways, I guess, if this was a standard subdivision, I would see that. But if you were to look at, an aerial view of this quote unquote subdivision, it's not, it's property that was divided, right? I don't see how in any way in the future that you would, again, if you were to look at it from an aerial view, that you would ever run utilities in that area. And again, we're not asking for the entire easement, right? We're just asking for a very small portion of it.
I have a question for you. Would it be possible for you just to move your building over the 2 feet so you wouldn't be in the easement?
So it puts it close to the house, extremely close to the house if we were to do that. So that's why we are trying to get it pushed closer to the property line.
What constitutes extremely closer to or extremely close to the house? Just curiosity.
I mean, we'd have to measure it, but I'd say within 5 to 10 feet of the home.
Is that in compliance with current building code to have a
10 foot separation, only 10 feet minimum distance between them.
I have a question. So, if that's the case, I'm not viewing an overhead view of Mr. Mortensen's property, but if it is the case that we've already vacated the portion of the easement, this would then, council, you can advise, but would this already mean that we have a non-conforming subdivision and that makes this a moot point?
I disagree. Oh, is this on? Okay, I disagree. I guess bad acts that's happened in the past doesn't make this one good. I would still advise not to make this more non-conforming. That is our zoning code, so I'm always going to ask you to follow the code. Again, I think that we could make this work. An encroachment agreement is something that's common in cities. For example, Layton always would allow in the back, depending on setbacks and those kind of things, but always would allow 5 feet of encroachment, but it would be in an encroachment agreement that they would come to. So I think that this is something that we can make work, and that's what I advise the council.
How long would it take to get something drawn up along those lines?
This would be a very simple process. I could have something I could have it in a week. I'm gonna get it to Malcolm.
So just to clarify, if we did that encroachment agreement, and if at any time Hooper City did need that easement, then you would be responsible for moving that building, correct? I mean, we would have to have access through our easement.
So it's our easement, and if we need it, we need it. And I think what you're saying there is kind of the problem, right? If we get rid of it and we need it, then we'll have to get it back somehow. So if we need it, we need it. And yes, we could get in. We have the right to go in and do things to our easement there. And that would be part of the agreement, just the understanding that if we ever needed it, we could go in and do what we needed to do. But that being said, it sounds like he's only getting in 2 feet into the easement. So.
Correct. I do want to clarify that we're not asking for the entire easement to be vacated. We're asking for 2 feet by 30 feet of that easement to be vacated.
So Josh, are you okay with an encroachment agreement?
Yes, because I don't see you guys ever.
You know what?
Yeah, ever.
I'm just gonna follow a professional's he knows a lot more about this than I do, and that's the way I would lean. If you're good with an encroachment, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that based on council's advice, and I do agree, just because we may have done something improper the last time doesn't mean that we necessarily want to follow that, but we would love to work with you and find a way that we can make this work for you and your use of the property, but also securing the future of whatever the city may need for it. And if you're right, we never need it, then it's never going to be a problem, and we already have that kind of an agreement. My question on that would be, as this is presented to the council for approval, if we were to move forward with an encroachment agreement, we couldn't approve as it stands. So would we need to add this to another agenda, or is this something that we can just modify as it stands?
I would have to actually verify on if this needs to be voted by the council. I think this is a contract. It'd be an agreement between them. So I'd have to look at the code. So maybe let's work on it and then we'll get to the next point. It shouldn't take long.
Have we not already sent out the appropriate, and isn't that the purpose of this meeting, is for everybody to say their piece if they wanted to say, hey, I don't think he should have that?
Certainly. We can definitely make a vote on it. I would actually push that we make a vote on this.
That way it turns into just a contract signing, correct? Rather than another meeting for what this portion of the meeting is already for.
But I'd say whether we're voting yes or no to abandon the easement. And then I can take it on myself as an assignment to get the contract in place. for the encroachment agreement.
So we would need to have a motion stating whether we are motioning to abandon the easement or not, if I'm understanding correct.
So can I just clarify, Rocky Mountain Power's letter specifically stated to only agree to an encroachment and
Correct.
not an abandonment?
I think point to note for that is we consider these broadly. That's the same letter we get from Rocky Mountain Power every time. I don't think they'll change they're never going to provide a different letter than that.
They
So-
will-
So it's been
they
the
do
same
not
all the
say
time.
yes. They
So-
do not.
So we've gone against Rocky Mountain's power advice every time. Just
I
saying.
haven't seen those other letters, but based on my experience with Rocky Mountain, I think.
I think what he means is yes.
Okay, that's interesting to know. Thank you. Anyway. So I'll make the motion to not abandon the utility easement on this particular portion of property. And instead enter into an encroachment agreement as written by our legal counsel.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
A second.
Second was made by Councilmember Craig. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
you do.
What is the timeline on this? Will this have to come up? Will we see this again, or does this take care of it?
I mean, we can put it on the agenda. We can
But-
get it on the agenda to discuss what happens. I need to look into the code on whether this needs to come to the council for a vote. So, I mean, if you guys want it to,
We don't.
okay, yes, okay. So that's something I'll
Thank
look
you.
in, but within the week, I'll get that information and I'll get it drawn up.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you
okay,
all.
we'll be in touch. Okay, the next thing on our agenda, we are going to have a presentation by David Harris on emergency preparedness updates. Yes, and there's copies on the table if people would like to pick those up.
Did you just give us one?
No, it was in the, it was in.
No, but I'll go grab it.
Here, once.
Grab two. Yes. Eric code is internal at our discretion. So that would make sense. I just wonder if. Sorry, we got.
I have one.
We ready?
Yes,
So
go ahead.
before I jump, just real quick, I attend a county emergency preparedness meeting that happened to be today. But a couple of things that came from there that, one was about Everbridge. So I asked about Everbridge, and Everbridge is a notification, a broad notification that this county has adopted. It's in the place of what used to be Red Code or Code Red, excuse me. This is now the method to communicate. But it has to be a city employee, so I can't do it. No regrets there. But in order to do it, you need to identify who it is and send the email to Lisa Schultz. I think you have her contact information. Lisa's? Yeah. Who it is, and then that person, there's 8 hours of Everbridge University training. And then they would be approved and get the access to that. Second thing is they recommended highly, and it makes sense, that the city offices have emergency materials here for city staff. And really the best analogy is put the oxygen mask on yourself before you try to help somebody else. So if you're trying to if the city's trying to put things back together after an incident, and you're not stable here, then it could really inhibit the recovery. So just something to think about. I think we'll address that from the emergency preparedness team. So will you show me the first page? So on the first page, I'll just, since these are things that are not in there formally, but we need to add, and I'm not going to go through those. You can see those. That little the house or emergency preparedness home, whatever you want to call it, is just trying to pictorially illustrate how we are organized as a community in responding to an incident. So if you get that second. So that house right there. So big, fundamentally it's the family, all, up to way to the community, depending on the magnitude of the incident. That next one is a map of how the city's divided up. So I just want to read, if you go to introduction, I'm not going to read it all for you. And you may look at it and say, well, this is not much of a plan. And it's really taken us, now we've been doing this for 2 years. And there's a lot to be developed in it, but we want to make it simple. But right there, the Hooper City Emergency Operation Plan outlines how the city prepares for, responds to, and recovers from emergency. And the plan will follow the NCMS, which is the National Incident Management System, and ICS, which is how one is managed. If it's a small enough, if there's a fire that takes out a couple of homes, we're not going to set up a command center. But the premise is, and it's stated in here, and so if you go to page 7, the premise is that it's the greatest amount of good, and we'll see that in it. It's the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. Hooper's not going to hit the radar for that. They're going to be in Ogden, they're going to be other places. So we are under that operator of developing a plan under the assumption that we could be on our own for a day, 2 days, 3 days. When EMS shows up, then I would, if I'm the one that's, and that would be the case probably, I would default to them. So if fire shows up, I'd say, okay, here's what we've done so far. Here's what we know. And then they may say, no, you stay, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll support you. Or I turn it over to them, whatever the case may be. And it really would depend on the magnitude. So this would require approval. If you go to that resolution, the approval page, next one, I think. So it would be approval by the mayor and the city council. And actually, I would like to get it approved, not tonight, but if you would approve it and you look at it, say there's 100 holes in it, and I tell you, no, there's 1 million holes in it, because there's a lot of things that aren't covered, and we're not gonna be able to cover them all, but that we have started. We've got something in place that we can build on. So that's, actually, I'd like to get that approved. Not tonight, but just there's a signature page that says we've looked at it and we agree. And I chose as deputy recorder. Are you deputy recorder?
Jamie's deputy.
Okay. So this says that it's, she's witnessed that it's signed for. So if we go, and please, if you have questions, I'm not trying to read the whole thing. I'm just trying to inform you a little bit of what we're trying to do and what we've got in place so far. But if you go under plan premise, 13, yes. So there I said the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. With this in mind, this plan assumes that depending on the scope, the incident, the community will be on its own for a period of time. Through, if you see down there, RDAP, CERT, VOAD, RDAP is, and that we've already implemented that in half of the city. The other half is, never mind. We've got a half of the city. And that's rapid disaster assessment. So the whole function of CERT, RDAP is to assess where the needs are so that when the resources, the skill comes in, we can tell them already, we've covered this area, you don't need to go there, we need you to go here. Instead of fire shows up and now they've got to spend, days canvassing this, it's not going to happen. So if we can do all of that beforehand, and then whatever we can address, we can help. If it's under the CERT, which is Community Emergency Response, there's certain things, if you're a CERT trained, you can do a few first aid things, but nothing really medical. So we would do as much as we could so that when somebody shows up, we could turn it over to the ones that are trained for it. VOAD is a community, it's a response, recovery response that we would request as a city. They can't come in on their own. We would ask, we need the help. And it's all kinds of different organizations that specialize in different abilities. And we'd say, we need shelter, we need water. Can you help us? So that's what VOAD is. So prepare, just slide up a little bit. Well, not that much, just a little bit, just below the purpose of Upper City. So prepare, respond, we just went past it. Prepare, respond, and to recover. So we're not just emergency preparedness. Part of our scope would also be how we respond. And how we, and that's why, the comment about the city offices needs to be able to get you back up and running to facilitate that as much as we can, because it's going to require, Public Works, the things that are way outside of the scope, although we are through the area. Anyway, trying to collect some of those resources. It'd take me a while to explain how that is a little different level. But if you look, go down a little more to the hazards, just keep going. So there's, and actually, I had to submit something to the state, completely unqualified, but there was nobody else, and how we would respond to those. And what we determined was the possible magnitude of one of those issues. Earthquake, we don't have any mountains that fall on us, but we would liquefaction, we would just kind of settle into the ground. So we have earthquake would be an extreme one for us. Flooding, you may or may not think it is, but I actually attended a presentation on if the dams broke and which dams broke, and it would hit us pretty good. If two of them broke, anyway, those are all real risks to the city. So we're trying to address those. If you'll go down to concept of operation. So again, I already said that would be it's NIMS, which is the Institute of Managing the, sorry, I'll read it. National Incident Management System. And then underneath that is ICS. That's the command system. There are 5 different primary roles in a full-fledged command center, how that operate. We're really thinking we would only be three positions. And 2 of them, between the 3 would cover those other positions that we couldn't staff. Then the very last page 16. Oh, the navigator left. So there is, so the mayor has responsibility, but there's a caveat in there. The mayor holds overall authority during declared emergencies. If the mayor is not trained in the EOP and its supporting functions, responsibility would fall to the trained. So although you would have ultimate, but you wouldn't, unless you were trained, you wouldn't step in and manage the command center. Just for clarification, it just doesn't make any sense to us that whomever, I mean, I'm looking at you, but to step in and say, I don't even know what EOC stands for, and you want me to manage the command center. So questions?
When you guys evaluated this stuff, I'm not seeing anything in there about the irrigation canals, and I know insurance companies are very concerned about canals breaking. The risk out here is obviously minimal, but it could, like there's one just east of my house that carries a large amount of water. And my insurance companies have that included in their potential floodplain plan, because that canal, if it did happen to burst, my basement would get flooded. If it was full in the time of the irrigation system. There is a drain ditch that runs in front of my house. I'd never carry it in a million years. So I didn't see that in your mitigation. It was rivers and sloughs, but I didn't see anything dealing with the irrigation canals. I think that's something you probably ought to look into a little bit, maybe as you're doing this.
So let me put the burden back on you,
Okay,
because we are a group of volunteers, strictly all of us.
okay,
And there are, with every, like I said, you say there's 100 holes in it. I'll tell you, there's 1,000,000 holes in it.
okay.
So if you will help me remember that, somehow you can, and don't just tell me tonight and then you walk out the door and neither one of us remember. Somehow we meet once a month. It's the third Wednesday,
Okay.
but some way to let me know to include that, because I'm not gonna, there's just, it's way out of my ability, our group's ability. And incidentally, we have truly impressed with we've divvied up the responsibilities and what everyone is taking. We'd never make this if it was just me. There is in fact, Annika was going to present this, but she's sick. She's the one that's working on the plan. So somehow I agree, but somehow we need to, just doesn't get lost in the rhetoric and I don't remember. And 2 or 3 weeks, I think I said something to him, but I don't remember and nothing happens.
So when's your next meeting?
The third Wednesday, which is what day? I don't remember. It's this third Wednesday here at 6:30. So just incidentally, we split the meeting. The first half of the meeting is the business side of it. And then the second half would be emergency preparedness, like it's 72-hour or sanitation or long-term storage. We've had a number of them, but some way so we don't lose it, because I agree.
So it'd be beneficial if I'll take this, make any notes, just like that one that Councilmember Hancock had, and then plan on us either getting this to you before the next meeting or plan on, because I think everyone would like a chance to go through it for a fine tooth comb. Now you've explained it even a little better. And then we could, because I think we do want to have this approved.
So actually, that's an excellent idea. And I retract everything I said 35 seconds ago. If you do that, if you mark up your plan and give it to me, and if everybody did that, if we got 5 comments from each one of you, that would be a boost to what we're trying to do. So yes, that would be great. That would be.
Is that acceptable with the council to do that?
Yeah. So Dave, I will just say this, kudos to you and all of your helpers, your committee. This is a huge task and I'm very impressed with what you've done. And if we do have an emergency out here in Hooper, everybody's going to rally together and help you guys, and just having this plan, it's going to work out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Also, let me just one little twist on what you said. You're right. Everyone will, but if we are not organized how that help is administered, in fact, CERT would evolve because of an earthquake. The short story is there were a significant amount of volunteers that died. But if we're organized and we know how to respond and you want to help, as a community member, I'm going to have to go to the EOC, the command center. And then I will be told there, okay, we need you here, we need you here. So thank you very much. That's our ambition, is so that we're organized when we respond. Thank you.
Let's have a deadline. If not, we won't. So let's plan on council by next Tuesday. You have this weekend to look through this, make any notes that you do by next Tuesday. Then we will turn these back into the office to Morgan. And then if you would want to come in end of day Tuesday, then we can make those changes so it could go out in our packet Thursday. So we'd be prepared to motion on this on our January 22nd meeting.
So that means that I have to incorporate your changes.
Well, so how much time would you want? That maybe doesn't give you enough time. Should we say Monday? Would that give everyone enough time by Monday to review this?
So it's not, that's great, but my concern is my ability to respond so that it's what you've asked for, it's in the plan and ready for you to review. And some of them may be a little like yours. All we would do is say, oh, we got to think about the irrigation ditches. That's it.
So-
That would be in the plan. It would be documented, but the response, we wouldn't have it. It's just, and all of this, this page here is going to take us a while to embed this in, because of those CERT, VOAD, and so on, have sections for those. And to get those in and adequately described how they function so that you know what CERT is, and you know what, as a community member, you know what those are and how they operate. That's my concern. So we could come back with, here's the ideas, and all we say, and I'm agreeable to this, is all we say, we can't forget the irrigation ditch, and there's a line that says it. And whatever other comments, we just have a line, but we don't have an adequate response. I can agree to that.
Would you like to have more time? Would you like us to, you tell us
So
then what
now-
would be a good time frame?
Sounds like double talk, but no, I don't want any more time. Because I want to keep it, if we don't, just like you said, if we don't act, then we don't act. So yes, get it to me, but just be willing to say, oh, it's in there. There's a one line that says, well, we don't know how to do this, but we got to do something about it, period. And then we work on that little by little and try to respond to each one of those. So I think that commits both of us as a emergency preparedness team and then the city council to get something that's documented, got lots of flaws in it, but we can move on it. So yes, if you say a week, and then you know that we're going to come back with just that we acknowledge that you said it.
Okay, would it be beneficial if we gave you, if your meeting's on the 21st, if we don't plan on motioning on it then until February 5th?
Yeah, that's.
Because then we could, that would give us time. You'd have your 21st meeting. And then after you had your, we could still get this to you a week from, if we give everyone then, or even by next Wednesday, if we give it, then we give it to you, then you'd have it at your meeting to review it. And then you could put in what you needed to, and then we'd have it ready for the,
I like that. Yep, let's do that.
okay. Does that sound agreeable?
Can we just email you then, if we find something? Is that gonna be the easiest to this email here?
Or you can do that, whatever you'd like.
So Dave, here's what's gonna happen is if I don't go home and read this tonight or tomorrow morning, I'm gonna forget until the next
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
I'll just email you tomorrow.
Okay.
If it'll
And
be
you can
easiest.
use that email that's on the front.
Okay.
And incidentally, that's an email so that whoever takes my place, because I'm not doing this for the rest of my life, the email stands. So that whoever steps in can take over on that email.
I doubt we're gonna find very much that you're gonna hear back from us.
Just
we
5 or
will.
6 thoughts. What about this? What about this? Because that'll help us a lot to think, because we're getting outside of our little balloon, our little bubble, excuse me. And, we're taught to think the way we think. And we get somebody on the outside that has a different thought structure.
Well, and just quickly, I want to give you kudos. I had a son that was on an LDS mission in New Orleans when Katrina hit. New Orleans was, you're way ahead of how New Orleans was prepared for that hurricane that hit them and decimated their city. They had
Yeah.
nothing planned out. You guys are miles ahead of where they were. They were totally lost.
Well, thank you. We feel like we're still 100 miles behind, but
Well, you're way ahead of a city, I'll tell you that, or a big city.
thank you.
Hey,
I'd
thank
like
you.
to also just make a comment really quickly, Dave. Just commending you for everything that you've done. I've had an opportunity to attend one of these sessions, and like you said, the first half is emergency preparedness. The second half is just an amazing opportunity to learn more. The one I attended, they did food preparedness for the home. It was a great course. I think everybody should have taken it on how to store food, how to prepare food for emergencies. So it's not just meetings about the emergency preparedness plan. They bring people in from the community who come in and actually provide some useful information you can do today. So I would encourage anybody to attend these meetings. Very excited for us to continue to partner with you. I think we should have a provision in there though that mandates that you run this for the rest of your life. So thank you.
I know where you live, guy. Thanks.
There.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then council will have something to Morgan by Wednesday. If not, we'll send you out a reminder email if you haven't already emailed Dave or brought something in. Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you. We do appreciate all of this. Okay, the next thing in our packet was the November financial statements. This is not anything we vote on. This is for your information only. If you have any questions, go through and review this. And when we start on the budget meetings, these will probably start to make a little more sense. Does anybody have anything to comment on this? Yes, if you would like to, that would be great.
So I don't have a PowerPoint to present this time, but I'll just go over some highlights. This is November's data, so 5 months of the year have passed, so 42% of the year is over. Overall, the general fund revenues are close to budget at 43.8%. Expenditures are slightly below budget at 38.8%. Our highways budget, I feel like, is not correct. I don't know, Mayor, what you think about that, but it only says that we've spent 45%, and I feel like we've spent way more than that with our road projects that we've had this year. So that needs to be discussed and talked about and made accurate, I believe. As far as the utility funds go, we're pretty close to budget. Sewer, 42.9% budget. Revenues, expenses are 66.8 because we had some repairs this last month that had to be made. Garbage is right at 42%. Expenses for garbage are roughly 35%. Stormwater, close to budget at 47% collected. Expenses are only at 20% spent in the stormwater. As far as our, let's see, where we go, right there, our general fund unrestricted fund balance has to be maintained between 5 and 35%. We're currently at 27% before some of that money has to be transferred to capital projects. So the other thing I did notice was that we talked about our grant revenue last time, and it's still not on November financials as far as the revenue portion of our grants. And I don't know if you asked Cammie about that or not. Anyway,
Yeah, I did, and she showed me where it was in the budget, but I didn't happen to bring that tonight. You know, when we went through that budget packet and it showed it there listed. So I know the Pepper Tomato Days one was in here because I saw it, but she said those were in capital projects and it was in secured capital projects. And like I say, I apologize, I don't have my whole budget booklet with me, but
so all the lines that say grants, for example, intergovernmental grants, local units, still shows a 0 year-to-date actual when our budget is 182.4. There was another one on the grant revenue. Anyway, the ones that I looked at on the actual financial pages, here it is. Tomato Days grant on recreation shows a 0 year-to-date actual when it should be 50,000. So some things to look at in our grant revenue.
I know I saw in here, but I don't remember now what page. I started highlighting them, but somewhere I did see where it said this doesn't account for the $50,000 Herber Tomato Days grant. And like I say, if I had our whole budget booklet, because they were at the back and she had them listed, but I don't have that with me tonight. But we
Yeah, I
can.
had a couple
Oh, go
I had a
ahead.
couple similar questions because I saw that several of the grant funded items were budgeted but not reflected in the expenditures. And I was just curious if we could confirm when those revenues are expected to be recognized and whether like any mid-year budget adjustments are anticipated. And I was also curious, similarly, like with the capital projects like sewer and stormwater, they all carry like significant reserve balances. So I'm just curious if we can outline which projects are already committed versus discretionary, and maybe if there's any flexibility the council had if priorities shift for the year, so we're kind of prepared for that.
Sure. And like I say, again, I apologize. I don't have our whole big budget booklet with me tonight. I usually bring it, but I didn't tonight. But I know all those were accounted for in that book because when we went through, because our budget had to be approved the end of June and we had already received that money from the grants. And so I know they were in a separate category. So without having Cami here to ask, I'm not sure where that is.
I would think that they should be in those line items, though. If we have a budget line item for a grant specifically for Tomato Days, you know, those, that should show up in that line item rather than somewhere else that's hidden. Anyway, David, to answer your question on page 1, 2, or 3, there it shows under the utility funds, like the sewer fund has unspent project money for 52,000. It's been committed for the additional purchase of some additional pumps. And then stormwater has project money, also they're available for a committed project as well.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
But yeah, you're right. We'd be well served to know specifically. I mean, the sewer says pumps, but stormwater, it'd be nice to know specifically what those projects are.
Well, on the bottom of page 2, where it says the city has unspent project money in the amount of 165,000, that is the 5,900 project. Well, city council, when they did the budget, did not put any money in the budget for that 5,900 West project, but that money was allocated. City council approved to have that 165,000 go towards that project, but then it was time to do the budget. They did not approve to put that project in the budget. And so that is something that we will have to look at when because that project is something that's going to need to be done here within the next few months.
That's all I got.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay. So the next thing we have then is a presentation by Taylor Stoffer, who is our city engineer, and we'll turn the time to him.
Thank you. Are you gonna pull up that thing I sent you, the PDF? So I'm here to talk about the SWIP, our stormwater management plan. To give a little history for the new council members, but just to understand what's going on is over a year ago, it was last January, I guess it was just 1 year ago. The city went through the audit for the MS4 program, which is a municipality sanitary stormwater audit. That's where they come in and they audit how we're controlling our stormwater, our pollutions and sedimentation, stuff like that. What happens with normal construction, all that stuff. That was a whole year-long process. The audit happened, then fixing all the items that they told us to fix took us a whole year. One of those items on the list was that the city needed to have the stormwater system GIS mapped in its entirety. And that's something that we don't have. It's something that within the past, I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago, where we started mapping all of our new stormwater infrastructure. So we have maybe 10% of everything in the city mapped in GIS already, but we have that whole lot of the rest of the city that we need to map. And we did go to the state, the water quality division, and we asked them for some leniency or some exemption that we want to do this, but because of the large financial burden that would be placed on us to do it all at once, we said, can we work on it every year for the next 5 years and take it bit by bit? And we sent out a letter to them and we got denied. They said, you have until the end of 2026 to do it. So
Interrupt 1 second. Roughly what would that cost to have that
so
done?
that's what we came here with over here. Summing up those numbers, which isn't summed up. Let's see if I can pull it up right here. It was 58. Oh, there it is. Yeah, about $55,000, which when we first estimated it, and then when we talked to the state, we said that's going to cost us about 80,000. That was our rough numbers. But when she got the rejection letter, we said, let's look into all the more specifics and really try to figure out how much it would cost us. So we are down from what we first expected. I'll now talk about maybe there's the consequences if we don't do this. What can happen is that the state can impose fines for not meeting these MS4 requirements. Kind of comes from the EPA. They can be pretty strict, but they can also, I mean, I actually don't know many municipalities that have received fines for not doing it. As long as we're trying, they're not going to try to make it more difficult for us, is what I've seen for a lot of people. So that's what I want to do here is I want to see if we can commit some funds to do this. Do as much as we can. We don't want to create a larger burden. If we wanted to try to achieve that 55,000 right there and do the whole city, we'll try to do that. If we wanted to show whatever we can, but we got to show that we're making an effort to get this thing mapped. I was going to tell you a few other benefits other than just not meeting the requirements. Some other benefits is for our storm drain master plan. Master planning for all our utilities is something we want to do. We don't have a storm drain master plan, and to do one ever, it'd be impossible to do without accurate mapping of what we already have. So this is step one of eventually someday doing a storm drain master plan. All planning and development, when new development comes in and they say, all right, where's your next stormwater infrastructure? It's usually Jared. Jared knows everything in the city like the back of his hand, but if it was mapped, we know where it's at and it's easy for them to know. Engineering wise, like and public works, when we have city projects that we have to do, we need to know how the system operates, and so we can do calculations and knowing that. And then the last one is just avoiding fees that the state might impose on us. So that's kind of my little rundown. I guess also I'm going to state how we plan to do this. It'll take someone walking around with a GPS equipment and literally walking down all the streets, finding a storm drain manhole, saying, here's one, storm drain catch basin, walking a few ditches, show where the ditches are. So someone is going to be walking up and down these streets a whole lot. And if they have to do it this year, it's someone from my office, and I want them to do it in nice weather, not in the middle of the summer. So we can do it something in the spring or late fall. That'd be ideal. More easier for that person doing that. And then we take the data back and create a map with it with our GIS gateway mapping people. So that's where the cost kind of breakdown right there is just how we're going to do that. So do you guys have any questions for me?
I have a question.
You bet.
You said, I think like, we at least need to get started to suffice with the state. What percentage do we have to kind of show ourselves underway to achieve what the state requires by the end of 2026?
I mean, they'll never tell us that, right? And that's kind of what we asked them. We said, can we do 20%? And they said no. I feel if we got 60% of the city mapped out and show them that we just ran out of money and that we want to do more, they won't impose fines on us in the year 2026, but they would work with us another year.
And then I have one other question, which is kind of crazy thought. Is it possible to float like mini GPSs down these storm drains to map it out quickly?
I'm gonna say no, and there's not an easy way to do that. I mean, there's closed CCTV that they use for sewer and stuff, and it kind of works like that. That's going to be a lot more expensive than what this is.
Okay.
That's more for sewer. When sewer's never open, this stuff does open up, so this is easier to do this way, I think. Yeah.
So this is on for a discussion. This would have to be an amendment to the budget because it wasn't a budget item. And so we could put that on our next agenda to have it voted on to amend our budget. We talked about it with staff, and yes, there's a possibility they won't come back and fine us. But we also talked about there's a good possibility if we could look at our budget and see, we'd be better off having the money in there. And then if we don't get it done but we don't know, that's the thing. Who wants to just be at the mercy of if they are going to fine us, or if they're not going to fine us? And so I would think might be a good recommendation if we could find that money in the budget to amend our budget to include this. So the funds would be there available to do it. But like I mentioned, it wasn't motioned it's not on our agenda as a motion. So we would need to vote on this at our next meeting and then have our budget amended.
Wasn't there a portion of our budget allocated to the sewer project for, there was a big thing we were doing with mapping or something this year, wasn't there? Or it had to do with, remind me what it was. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was for the,
Well, I would say a sewer project, we're talking about one on 5100 west to Forest Main that extends out to 4000 south. Is that what you're thinking?
no, it was
Just
to
more-
redo the method where we collect the impact fees
Oh,
for sewer and stormwater. Or was it just stormwater? I'm trying to remember.
like, are we talking about IFFPs?
Yes.
Master planning?
Yes.
Yes, so let's see. I came here one time to talk about doing a master plan for sewer. Is that right?
There was, because there was quite a bit
Yeah.
of it that had already been done. And
Yes.
I don't have that form right in front of me either, because we had the exact amounts, but this is separate than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm remembering now. We were doing a master plan for Parks and Recreation and IFFP. I gave you a budget for sewer, and which is a lot of done already, but storm drain is separate than that, and very little has been done towards that one.
But there was a chunk of money that we allocated for stormwater for the IFFP, correct?
I don't think so. I think I just gave it as numbers, as possibilities if you wanted to go.
Because we had to redo the impact fees for stormwater. And then we budgeted some money for it. I'm almost sure.
Did we adjust the stormwater fee?
Yes.
Yeah, is that what it was, or? I think we just increased the stormwater fee that we collect.
The stormwater fee went from $5 to $6. And I know we had talked about doing a stormwater impact fee to actually see what we should, but I don't think, and again, I apologize, I don't have my budget money big book with me, but I don't remember.
And I thought that was one of the mandated things from the EPA was the stormwater collection methods or the impact fee methods.
I mean, this might just,
Anyway, we'll
yeah,
have
I'm
to
not
look at
following
it.
you, but
We'll go back and look at it.
yeah, anyways, so that, I mean, it's just kind of saying that we talked about budget already, and this is something that we haven't budgeted for, and it's kind of a big one, but sometimes.
Can I
we
ask
forget it.
one more question?
Mhm.
This 54,900, since we don't have a requirement from the state on what percentage we need to complete, do we have a commitment from you on what this 54,900 commits the percentage that will be completed for this amount spent?
And that's what's hard for us, because one thing is, we're an engineering firm. We manage your guys' stormwater program. I wouldn't say we market as ourselves as a stormwater mapping facility company, like it's not something we've ever done before. We definitely have the equipment and expertise on the software side of things, but I can't really commit to how much this is going to get us, because this is really just a first time thing. This was me thinking, I went through and measured the number of miles of streets we have, how fast it takes someone to walk that distance, get how much time it takes to collect data. So, I mean, it's all pretty theoretical, but we can commit not going over a certain amount. Like, we'll track it and say, you hit that amount, and that's as far as we got.
And then in that same line of thought then, and please hear my heart, no offense to you on this, is this something that as a city, we would have a responsibility to RFP or to consider for competitive bids to understand, like you said yourself, you're not really necessarily super experienced in doing this, you haven't done it before. Should we consider alternative folks who have done this before and what it would cost somewhere else?
Well, I would encourage that, honestly. I I don't think there is a company out there that will answer that RFP. That's the problem. If there is, that's great because they'll probably be cheaper than us, and we're for that. But I don't think you would get any response from that. But
Okay, yeah, I'm ignorant to it, so I
totally
just wanted to, yeah.
totally welcome it. There might be someone like Twin D. They do the cammering of sewers and stuff. It might be worth doing out there, but they're very busy as well, and they've got their expertise, and so I don't know.
So.
Maybe reaching out to other municipalities and how they've done it, but in the past. But it's kind of weird in Hooper. Like we were in New City 25 years ago, and so we don't have the historical past like other cities have, like Layton or other cities like that. But
So if I understand this, so that 54,000, whatever it was, that's not a guarantee of getting 100% of it done, or
yeah, it'd be hard for us to commit to that.
so then we really do need to look somewhere else to get a commitment from somebody. And if we don't, then come back. I just hate having a open checkbook, you know, because once you start on the project, then yeah, we're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I would like a firm bid and, you know,
And we appreciate your position because you've already said this is not something you've done a lot, so we understand that, but I agree a little bit with Larry. A lot of things like this tend to get over budgeted a lot, especially in something where it's territory that we haven't dealt with before and you haven't dealt with before. So yeah, we may end up seeing what we can find and then get back with you or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know of any other cities that have had to do this? You know, you said reach out to some other municipalities who, because again, it would only be somebody that was in similar geographical area, because you take like other cities that are just confined and their storm drains are all, they're not dealing with sloughs and
Yeah. I mean, I would just think Hooper's a whole lot like West Point, and they probably went through something like this many years ago. Not many years ago, but maybe 10 years ago. It seems like they got all the development hit them fast, probably about 10 years ago, whatever. And it's just moving to Hooper. So I would talk to West Point. Boyd Davis is a good friend of mine that I can reach out to and see how he did it 10 years ago. And I'll say this is another option though. I have presented this with Jared, our public works director. It is something that a member from the public works could do. If they got trained up on the equipment, we do it. We'll train them up. We'll use our equipment. Something they could do. But then if you ask him and say, do you have a guy that we could have for a whole month and a half, however long it takes, he doesn't have a guy that could do that. If you had someone there though, that would be a whole lot cheaper than what we're doing. I mean, and that's the thing is, I am looking to make it the cheapest for you guys. Like this is your stormwater program. This is my stormwater program too. I take pride in it, and I want to do it good, but with money we have. And if we could get an employee to do it, then we're all for that. And I think we have had cities that have done that before, but not on a citywide scale. On a small scale, they've been able to commit a week to it. So something like that.
you said about miles. I knew once, but I don't remember, but Hooper has a lot of miles.
Yeah, is it like somewhere 60 miles, 80 miles maybe? So you're paying someone to go walk that.
Just to advise quickly, our code does in 217, if we're getting services that are over the amount of 25,000, we need to invite for bids, which obviously he would have the opportunity to do that as well. So
And it might,
217.
I just want to wonder if we do have a general services contract to manage the stormwater program. I don't know if that would fall in that we
Well, that's a good
wouldn't.
question. That's something I'll have to take under advisement. So, sorry, can you repeat what is the general?
So we have a general services agreement with Hooper City for general engineering services, and within that is the stormwater management program. So we manage the stormwater program under that contract.
Okay.
It's never scoped out of that contract to do it, but if it was something like just add to that scope, then it might
Yeah,
go around
that's
that.
something I can definitely look at for sure.
But again,
Well, thank you. And maybe if you wouldn't mind reaching out to West Point too, and maybe we could see if there was, because I know when they did the audit and we talked about this really is a overwhelming task.
yes, it is.
And what you say, once it's done, then it's done. And from now on, it will be so much easier because any new subdivisions will already have or any future development. But for now, we're starting a lot of this from scratch.
So just to follow up, Taylor,
Mhm.
in our budget, under stormwater fund, we do have a line item 2344-5060, an impact fee study for $120,000 that we allocated for budget this year, of which we've spent zero. Also, there's an engineering fee line item for $30,000, which we've also spent zero for year to date. So there is money allocated in the impact fee study for this year's budget.
Then we would have to,
Yeah.
that
At
was,
least that wasn't, I don't have that on my radar to do that project this year, so if it's allocated.
Thought the EPA mandated deal was for is why we allocated the 120,000 was because of some kind of a mandate. I thought it was either EPA or the state was mandating us for that.
Let me look
study.
into that. I don't think that was a requirement though.
yeah, I don't think so either. I think when we did that, because we had talked about doing those impact fee studies, and that was one of those impact fee studies, which would be different than this, but maybe that's something then, if we do have that budget money already there, then we could use that for this. And then another year, add more money on to do that impact fee study. Okay.
Councilmember Hill, can you repeat that line? I just want to make note of it too. What budget
Sure.
line that is?
I'm trying to find the page number, page 19. And line item 23-44-5060.
Thank you.
Taylor, one more question. So what's your time frame if you do this?
Ideally, I want to do it in the spring, and I think we'd get it done within 2 months.
Okay, and how soon do you need to know? The sooner the better, I guess, but
Yeah, and honestly, I guess just for workload purposes and planning that out for our springtime. I mean, late February will be fine. March would be fine too, I guess. We could also wait until fall. Just walking the hot summers is gonna be brutal for.
How long will it take legal counsel to look into what you need to look into regarding this for us?
Well, based on some information that I just received, I think that I agree that this would still fit within the general contract. I will still am gonna get it and go through the agreement and look at the scope. So I still think it fits within the scope. If I see that it doesn't, I will let the council and the mayor know.
That was really fast.
Well, and that is a good point that you mentioned, Councilmember Hill, because if we do have that impact fee money there, I'd still have to speak with our treasurer and see. Because sometimes I know if it's budget money, we don't necessarily have to, we still have to amend the budget because it wasn't allocated for that, but it could still be moved from one to another, but there would be money there that we could use. So that would be something we could talk with her about, and that might be a good solution.
Yeah, I'll just bring this up to Councilmember Opalato's idea. There's another way we could do this, I guess. It's not an open checkbook where what I would like to do is say, all right, there's 500 manholes in the city. How long does it take to do 500 manholes? But that's the problem is we don't know that number because it's not mapped. If you wanted to do it per manhole cost kind of idea, like every manhole, every catch basin, every mile of ditch that you mapped, we paid for it that way. I mean, we could look at that idea if that's more pleasing to the council.
Could you put something like that together for us fairly quickly?
Give me a week or so, I can put that together. Um, Whatever is better for you guys.
Not trying to be hard on you,
I
just
get it.
trying to, there's a lot of people here in Hooper that are on a tight budget, and so it's just our responsibility to look after the best of their interest.
I'm with you. Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions for Taylor?
Just had a thought come to mind. Does this include all the ground? I mean, if, there's open ground that's being farmed to and they dump water into a storm drain system, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we've got three main systems that come through the city that picks up everything. Does everything have to be mapped that enters that drain ditch that we have, an open drain ditch?
If it's within the public right of way, I would say that's what we're targeting. There is
Well-
stuff that's infrastructure, like actual infrastructure that's not in the public right of way. We're looking for that too.
Well, I think everything will always end up in a public right of way
Yeah.
before further it goes west. It'll end up in one.
So, yeah.
So, okay,
So that would definitely help us out.
all right.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions, council, before we move on? Okay, well, we'll do a little more investigative work then, and then when we're ready, we'll bring this back. We'll give Taylor a couple of weeks with that. Okay, so the next thing then is on our action items, there is a motion approval of commercial business license. Do you have something for that, or do you just? Okay,
Got my own microphone today. I'll have him come up and explain his business and the process of the commercial business that he's applying for.
yes.
My name's Kyle Simmons. I own a company called Heavy Metal Laser. I bought Northwest Welding's building. You guys are familiar with that on 4000 South. A little scary. I applied for a business license, but the meetings were canceled, so my closing date came and gone. So, but it's a similar business as what's there. I do metal fab, mainly sheet metal, a lot of aluminum. That's kind of it. We just cut it and bend it and weld. So I've got 9 employees. We don't do anything outside. It's all clean. We use no chemicals. It's not noisy. Just all inside the building.
I read the application and that, and it says you do powder coating. Now, do you do it there or do you send it out?
Small. The in-house process is small. Most of my powder coating goes up to Pennsylvania Avenue. But I don't know how familiar you are with powder coating.
I'm right next, well, I retired, but I'm right next door to the powder coater, and we send a lot of stuff over to them.
Okay. So we use what's called, anything that I do is called polyester, which is, it's not an epoxy, it's not a urethane. Other than the state of California, it's non-toxic. So it's very low and my space is small. And then we have collection, because, I have guys in there, we can't have it dirty. So it is all collected and swept and it gets put in filters and changed regularly.
So if you had the fire department come by,
I have, yeah, I've got 3 locations and I've got 2 locations in West Haven and 1 in Marriott Slaterville. I'm just trying to consolidate under one roof and I get inspected at every location every 6 months.
okay, so if the fire department comes by, I am fine because those guys don't let anything past, and so I would be fine with.
Yeah, that's. And I failed 1 inspection, my XLI was out, but other than that, I've never failed a safety inspection of any kind.
That's pretty good.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. If, we'll bring it back for discussion with the council. Any questions that council has for discussion amongst ourselves?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the business license application for K Simmons Holdings LLC, 5175 West, 4000 South.
The motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second was made by Councilmember Craig. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We're happy to have you here in Hooper. Okay, the next thing on our agenda then is motion approval of city council assignments. I know that we had a question on some of them. Some of them we were all right with, so we can continue to discuss this. Also, we need to nominate someone for the mayor pro tem position.
You want to do that now? The
Yes.
Nomination, I'd nominate Councilman Hill as mayor pro tem.
Okay, a motion has been made by Councilmember Fowers. Is there a second? Okay, seeing no second, is there possibly another motion then for Mayor Pro Tem?
I'd like to nominate David Craig as mayor pro tem.
We have a motion for David or Councilmember Craig to be a Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
The motion was seconded by Councilmember Hancock. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. So we will have Councilmember Craig as our Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, now we go through the council assignments. I know we talked about discussing the tomato jam further. We also mentioned the VIP program that we wanted to do a little further discussion. So with these other ones that are listed, with the exception of that, is there any discussion on any of these, or is there someone that's willing to make a motion to approve these other city council assignments?
So like on my assignment as this Just Serve coordinator, that is something that will happen. I mean, we haven't really approved it yet, but we are planning to do that.
Yes, I think we could go ahead and give you that assignment, or have that be a city council member assignment. Am I correct in that? And then we will do that, plan on having that on the agenda next time to do that, pass that proclamation.
Okay.
Any other questions on? Okay, seeing none, is there someone then that would like to make a motion to approve these assignments?
I'll make a motion to approve the council members' assignments.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Rapoletto. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second is made by Councilmember Craig. Any discussion on these? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those carry then. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda then is we need to move into a closed door meeting to discuss something. And so I need to have someone make a motion for us to move into a closed door meeting.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we move into a closed door meeting.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Fowers. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second is made by Councilmember Hancock. All in favor? Oh, go ahead.
Aye.
Oh, sure. Yes, Yes, okay, so possible closed meeting concerning pending and threatened litigation, pending of real property, development of security personnel devices or systems and or character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of one or more individuals. Okay, so do you want them to make the motion again? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so if you would like to stay here, there's a possibility we may come back to make a motion and then adjourn the meeting. If you want to stay here, we will move into another location. Or is everybody leaving? Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for coming then. Okay, thank you.
And then I will be hanging up and you'll be calling me, right?
No, you just stay on because everyone else is leaving, David, so oh. Oh, that's right. Yes, you will be hanging up and we will be calling you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, David.